Hi guys, this is Vysh from Vysh IAS, and today we are going to continue our Spectrum series. We had reached chapter 10 and we have done two parts. In the two parts we saw different offers by the British government to Indian national leaders, and it was like a combination of arguments, debates, and also the mass struggle. But now we are coming to an end of the nationalist movement, and we'll see how India finally got independence after the last mission, that is cabinet mission, which was put forward by the British government. And we'll also see the entry of Mountbatten, the last viceroy of India, or the first governor general of independent India, that is Mountbatten, who was responsible for the planning of the partition. Okay, so we'll see how the events will proceed. So let's begin. Cabinet mission which was sent in 1946 to India. Who were the members of this mission? Pethick Lawrence, Stafford Cripps, yes, the same Cripps who was there in Cripps mission in 1942. That time he came when he was not given much powers and was asked to wind up things like take it or leave it. That was the agenda at that time. But now they have come with a definite plan and with more powers. Pethick Lawrence, Stafford Cripps, and A.V. Alexander. You see the picture, they three are posing with Muhammad Ali Jinnah. But why? Now the war was over, the World War II was over, and British was now not a superpower in the world. They wanted to end their rule over India and they wanted to focus more on their economy and their country. And also Britishers understood that their time is over. What was the aim? To negotiate a peaceful transfer of power to India. This is why this mission was sent to India in 1946. Since INC and League did not come to a conclusion, the cabinet mission put forward their own plan. Because you know, everything was getting rejected. Even Indians tried the CR formula, the Desai-Liaquat Pact, and many other things, but nothing was working out. And INC was Muslim League was always at loggerheads because Jinnah wanted only a nation, no other compromise. Attlee gave a statement about partition actually. Though mindful of the right of the minorities, cannot allow a minority to place their veto on advance of the majority. So he was actually in support of a unified India. He told like minority rights can be respected, but for that you cannot just go for a partition, or you cannot allow minority to do a veto over the development or the unification of a majority group. That is the statement given by Attlee. Now we'll see the actual plan or the provisions of the plan. This is going to be a detailed one. We'll have a lot of points covering this entire slide. So please make a note of it because cabinet mission is always a potential question for mains. And also prelims, they can form statements. You can pick up any statement which I'm going to give over here. So make a note. First one and the foremost one. Pakistan's idea was rejected. The rejection of Pakistan due to following reasons. What were the reasons? Pakistan so formed will have large number of non-Muslims also in northwestern and northeastern region, because that were the two areas where Jinnah wanted to have a Muslim majority area. But what about the non-Muslims there? So that was one reason. Second is domino effect, because Sikhs also had problems and they could already continue their demand for Khalistan just like Pakistan. Okay, they would if this goes on, every minority will demand a country for themselves. Then how will a unified India sustain? So that was another reason. Third one, regional ties would be disturbed in Punjab and Bengal, because the people are united there, because all these divisions were just because of certain leaders, like selfish leaders like Muhammad Jinnah, or it would be because of the Britishers' policy of divide and rule. So the peace or regional ties would be disturbed. Also another thing is administrative problem for Pakistan. They are demanding one side which is on the western side of India and another side which is on the eastern side of India, and in between there is a mainland India. So how will they administer it properly? Division of armed forces resources was difficult. Now how will they decide the division? Even when Britishers had to leave, they'll have to make a committee for financial transfer or administrative transfer of power, but within the Indian land, how will you divide between India and Pakistan? It was a very difficult problem. So these were the reasons given for rejection of Pakistan, and this is the first point of cabinet mission plan. Second one are the groupings. they decided to group all the existing provincial assembly, because there are a lot of assemblies for which elections were happening. They will divide it into 3 sections based on Hindu-Muslim regions. So section A will be the Hindu regions. Madras, Bombay, Central Provinces, UP, it was called United Provinces that time, not Uttar Pradesh. Okay, Bihar, Orissa, that will be section A. Section B and C will be Muslim majority areas with Punjab, NWFP, that is Northwestern Frontier Province, and Sindh in the west, and Bengal and Assam in the east. So this is the grouping. So Bengal, if you see, it is not just East or West Bengal, it is the whole of Bengal. So obviously that is a problem which will come up later. We'll see 3-tier executive and legislature at provincial and union level. So 3-tier, 3 levels like we have now in India. A constituent assembly to be formed by provincial assemblies by proportional representation. So an assembly would be formed which will draft the actual constitution of India, and it will be formed by the provincial assemblies which is already selected. They will do a voting again, and then a constituent assembly will be selected. Then the groups ABC will sit separately, okay, for constitution of the province and together for the union. So separate constitution will be there like we have in the US. States will have their own and center will have their own, and ABC groupings will sit together and separate based on what they are drafting. Common center will decide defense, communication and external affairs. If you remember, CR formula had suggested similar thing. A common center should be there where important things should be controlled. It's not like everything will be partitioned. The defense, communication, external affairs should be central. Provinces will have full autonomy and residual powers. So the residual powers is now being given to the states. This is what Jinnah was demanding long back. If you remember Jinnah's 14 points. But Nehru report was telling the residual powers should be with the center. Princely states free to join any government or even the British. So even our princely state, they did not make a clear-cut plan. They told they can join any of the government or they can even join the British. That means they can consider British as their supreme leader. After first general election, the province was free to come out of the group. So it was again a bizarre kind of rule. After first general election, which happens after independence, one province can actually come out of the group, but they have to recognize the union as the center. But after 10 years, again this province is free to reconsider the union itself. So these were like not at all acceptable by anybody. Meanwhile, an interim government will be formed from the Constituent Assembly. So these are the terms or plan conditions. Groups will be formed, province will have more powers, residual powers. After first general election, they can go separate from a particular group, and after 10 years they can even go away from the union itself. So this was actually bizarre plan, but this was the plan with which Stafford Cripps, Pettit Lawrence and Alexander came to India. Now we will see the interpretations by different groups, because they gave this plan. Now each group will interpret it. Indian National Congress thought like the grouping is just optional. The ABC group, it is optional. So veto of Muslim League is gone and only one center. So they were thinking, okay, this is good in a way. But what about Muslim League? They are telling the groups is compulsory. That means the whole of Bengal, the whole of Punjab, everything is going under Muslim majority area. And we can secede from the union after the elections, or after 10 years they can just move away. So both of them were interpreting in their own way. And it is actually wrong. Both INC and Muslim League had their own reasons for accepting as well as rejecting it. Okay, the plan. INC had majority provinces in Assam and NWFP, group B and C. So this is the same thing. INC had majority provinces also. It's not like the entire east and entire west will go to Pakistan. So everybody had their own reasons. Muslim League thought that the Congress would readily reject it, seeing these conditions. But to everybody's surprise, what happened is, June 6, 1946, Muslim League will accept the plan because they think they have the power to secede. July 1946, elections will happen, the provincial elections. July 10, 1946, INC also accepted. They accepted like, okay, long term of cabinet mission plan can be accepted, and then after forming the constitution, we will draft accordingly and form the proper structure. But again, by 1946, Jinnah again withdrew from it. Okay, Muslim League withdraws, and it is called the D-Day or the Deliverance Day, which is called one of the biggest communal riots of that time. It's also called the Great Calcutta Killings, communal clashes, and over 5,000 people die just by killing each other in the name of religion just because Jinnah initiated this D-Day. It extended to even Bombay, Bihar, Noakhali. So all parts of India, the communal clashes were happening. Wavell now was ready to set up interim government even without the Muslim League, because seeing all these communal clashes, Wavell, who had initially in the Wavell plan, if you remember, he was telling like once Jinnah raised something, he was immediately telling, okay, the talks are over, we cannot proceed. But now, even without Jinnah, he was ready to set up an interim government. So the interim government, how it is set up, we'll see. September 1946. We are going to see it as a story in the form of timeline so that you understand the proceedings. September 1946, interim government sworn in with Nehru as the head. October 1946, Wavell now secretly brings in Muslim League also inside it, even though they did not give up the D-Day or demand for Pakistan. So they are still stern in what they wanted, but Wavell tried unifying both of them by bringing them into the interim government. December 1946, the first session of the interim government was supposed to happen, but Muslim League boycotted it. They did not attend it. They did not come for any discussions or meetings. Nehru passed the objectives resolution. Please make a note of this prelims question. Objective resolutions was during the interim government, and this is actually forming a draft of a basic version of constitution with the fundamental rights, the right to freedom, and all those basic things which will be actually coming in the future of sovereign independent India. So objective resolution was passed in December 1946 by Nehru and the senior Congress leaders. Now 1947 February, INC ministers wrote to Viceroy demanding removal of Muslim League. They told like either remove them or we'll give our resignations. That is what the INC ministers told, because Jinnah was getting into too much communal atrocities across India. Now Attlee gives statements. We'll see a summary of what all he told. He told a lot of things, but we have summarized it in points. The deadline of independence, that is of transferring power, would be June 30, 1948, because he was fed up of all the communal issues and he wanted to just transfer the power. If Constituent Assembly don't resolve these problems, they would give away power to an existing body, whether it is in the center or whether in the province. So he was that much frustrated that he told like, we have given you this deadline, solve all the problems, else whoever is in power or whoever is the government that time, whether it be in the center or if there is a government center, they will give it distributed to the different provinces. The right of our princely states would end, but won't be given to any others also. So British is ready to give up the power of princely states, but they will not assign it to INC or Muslim League or any particular government. They will just leave it as such. So it is again a problem. So this is a kind of summary of what Attlee meant. But why did Attlee do this? To show that the British will fulfill their promise of giving independence, because Attlee was in the Labour Party who came into power recently, and to end the deadlock between INC and ML, because he thought like if we give such powerful statement, INC and Muslim League will come together and they will just react out of shock like Attlee has given such a statement. So we should come together and somehow get proper independence so that a unified India is there. Else princely state will be somewhere, Indian regions, Hindu regions will be somewhere, and Muslim regions somewhere. So to get a unified India, they will come together. That is what Attlee expected out of the INC and Muslim League. Now we will see what happens next. Now we have reached the timeline about closing to 1947. March 1947. Nehru said okay for cabinet mission groupings, but the partition should be fair. April 1947, Kripalani, J.B. Kripalani, who will be an important member even in the post-independence ministry, he is told like, let them have their Pakistan, it is better than battle. So even Indian leaders were fed up of these communal atrocities. So he is telling like, okay, do it, but everyone was telling partition should be fair. The non-Muslims in Bengal and Punjab should not be unhappy by it, so the partition should be fair. Hindu Mahasabha in Bengal was objecting to Bengal grouping under Pakistan, because if you remember, Group C had Bengal in it, and it is the whole Bengal, and it will go under Pakistan. So the Hindu Mahasabha people in that region was objecting to it. And this is the time when Mountbatten comes. It's a picture. The picture you see is Mountbatten and his wife with Mahatma Gandhi posing for a picture. Mountbatten came as a viceroy, and he was given more powers, so he was quick in taking decisions. But first he thought like it will be very easy and he will do it in quick succession. But what happened was, slowly he realized the seriousness of the problem and how much the communal violence is going, because he just came to India. First, he could not understand it. He heard both sides of the story. It is shown in all the movies actually. If you see any movie related to partition of India or the independence movement, the discussions happening with Mountbatten as the chair, and the INC leaders and Jinnah with his secretary together in a room. It is shown multiple times. Multiple meetings happen, but Jinnah never changes his position of partition. Now the Mountbatten plan, which is the actual plan, which was started in June 3, 1947. So if you see, August 15 we get independence. So in just 1 month and about 12 days, 30, 40, 42, 43 days, we get independence. So this plan is very much quicker than what Attlee had initially thought. VP Menon is a person's name you have to remember, because he immediately suggested a plan, because they knew time will take to solve the conflict. They told like immediately transfer the power with dominion status, and the constituent assembly which will be formed, they will form the political structure in their subsequent meetings. So VP Menon suggested that Britain don't have to worry about the communal clashes or how India will shape its political structure. It will all be done by Indians here, including Jinnah. They will be doing it. You can leave by giving the dominion status. Hindus and Muslims to vote in 2 groups in Bengal and Punjab. This was actually part of Mountbatten plan. Okay, Hindus and Muslims to vote in 2 groups in Bengal and Punjab, and even if one simple majority of partition is passed, then partition would definitely happen. So they decided to do voting in both sides, east and west, and if it passes through a simple majority, partition would definitely happen. And if partition will happen, then there will be 2 separate constituent assemblies and 2 separate dominions. That was the decision. Sindh will decide its own fate. Referendum will happen in NWFP and Sylhet. If you know, NWFP is in the western side and Sylhet is in the present day Bangladesh. Princely states should join either India or Pakistan. So princely states was not now left loose. It could only join one of the 2 dominions. Hyderabad cannot stay independent or not go to Pakistan. So because Hyderabad was a region of Muslim majority, even now it is like that. We know leaders like Owaisi and all who are from Hyderabad. They actually wanted to be part of Pakistan. Few elite leaders alone I am talking about, not the entire Muslim majority. So, but being geographically far from the places of west and east, northwest and northeast, Hyderabad's demand was not accepted by Mountbatten, and it was actually a win for INC. But again, problems will happen that we see when we do post-independence and how Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel unified entire India. Hyderabad was the first place which he had to merge within India by police action, which is called Operation Polo, that we'll see when we do a separate video on immediate state acquisition by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Boundary commission to be set up, and August 1947 would be the date if all goes fine. Okay, so they estimated like within 1 month it can be resolved, and a boundary commission, which is Radcliffe Commission, which comes later. Okay, you have to remember these names also, Radcliffe Commission, and we learned about Durand Line when we were studying Afghanistan. Durand Line is the border between India and Afghanistan. India in those days, but now it is a border between Pakistan and Afghanistan. And also McMahon line is there, where Indian and Chinese border is demarcated. So these kind of lines you should know. These are basic things, but UPSC can even ask such basic things in match the following questions. Okay, so we saw the Mountbatten plan. Now, why did Congress actually accept the dominion status? Because if you remember, dominion status was an old idea. In Nehru's report in 1928, that was when dominion status was asked. But after that, 1930, Jawaharlal Nehru, he told like we need only Purna Swaraj, and they rejected every dominion status offer, even August offer, Cripps mission, everywhere where dominion status was asked, India was rightly rejecting it. Then how come they accepted it all of a sudden? It was for peaceful transfer of power, and also INC wanted to come in power soon to handle the situation themselves. They didn't want British to make policies because it will get more complicated. They wanted to do all the decisions themselves. It would allow in continuity of bureaucracy and army, because dominion status means what? The England Queen will be still the supreme power. So India will be part of Commonwealth nations. So in Commonwealth nations, if India is a part, then the army, the bureaucracy, everything which British has been maintaining till now, Indians can learn from them and the continuity will be maintained. So slowly they can take up the in charge of the civil servants, the bureaucrats and the army. So that these are reasons why which Congress accepted dominion status, because that much communal rights were happening. They did not want any problem in the partition. Why an early date given by Britain? They wanted to get away from the communal rights. India would remain member of Commonwealth temporarily. So the same reasons apply to Britain as well. Why did they give an earlier date and they wanted to go away? Because they understood like dominion status is being accepted by Indians now. So they thought like, okay, quickly apply it and quickly implement it, because if it is a part of Commonwealth, British will still have some control over it, not in sovereignty, but at least in terms of trade and all those things. So these are reasons why Britain gave an early date. Now we'll see what happened. We saw in the last slide like voting and referendum was suggested in different places. So what happened was East Bengal and West Punjab joined Pakistan after the voting. Sylhet went to East Pakistan, that is present day Bangladesh. NWFP went in favor of Pakistan because INC abstained from the referendum. Referendum was supposed to happen, but INC never even participated. So obviously it will go to Pakistan. We don't know the reason for it, but that is what happened. Balochistan and Sindh voted for Pakistan. So if you see, these are also the present provinces of Pakistan: Balochistan, Sindh, NWFP and Western Punjab. Bangladesh is a different story. 1971 war, in which Bangladesh got liberated. That we'll see maybe some other video. So this is how Pakistan provinces were formed. And this is the last thing we are going to discuss in this video: Gandhi's helplessness. So when all this thing was happening, Gandhi could not do anything. He always wanted a unified India, whether it's in terms of religion or whether it's related to the depressed classes, everything. He wanted a unified India, but people chose to be partitioned. So he agreed it only because the people chose it. He couldn't bear any violence. He told the INC leaders, please don't do the partition in your hearts. And he asked to work for a peaceful India and Pakistan in future. So Gandhiji actually, because even today, if you see a lot of debates or arguments, it is told like Gandhi was responsible for the partition. But the actual thing is, he was helpless. He could not do anything. It is shown in most of the movies also, if you see, related to freedom struggle. Jinnah was that much adamant that partition could not be stopped, and especially events like D-Day and Great Calcutta killings would have resulted in more and more violence. That is why everybody had to finally come to a compromise of partition. And now you see India is somewhere and Pakistan is somewhere in terms of development and recognition across world. So partition was indeed bad. Also, if the stories about partition are even more painful, what the people of Pakistan, the people of Punjab and people of Bengal suffered during partition, it was even more painful. So things happened, but whatever happens will be for good only. So that is what we have to believe. And this is how India got independence on August 15, 1947. Pakistan celebrates it the day before and India at the midnight. That is why 15th August. And the famous speech of Nehru, you should also listen, the Tryst with Destiny, which he speaks in the midnight. So actually many people in India didn't even know like such a thing happened, because South India and all were unaware of such an event happening. But India got independence finally. We'll see some MCQs. Who was the Viceroy of British India when Muhammad Ali Jinnah appealed to the Muslims to celebrate the Day of Deliverance? So that painful day, that time, who was the Viceroy? Cornwallis, Hardinge, Lithgow, Wavell. It's a very basic question and you will be able to answer it. Next two questions, I'll give you the answer today itself. Royal Indian Mutiny, which was part of last video, was supported by Muslim League, Congress Socialist leaders, INC senior leaders, Communist Party of India. So if you remember, the Muslim League and INC senior leaders had asked them to stop everything because they wanted an organized and disciplined army or navy. They did not want any mutiny kind of thing. So the only people who supported was the Congress Socialist leaders and the Communist Party of India. So 2 and 4, option D is the answer. One more question about Direct Action Day, that is a D-Day, Deliverance Day. It is also called the Great Bombay Killings. Muslim League initiated this for the formation of Pakistan. It triggered large-scale communal violence. Jinnah went ahead with unconstitutional methods for implementing this. So it's very easy. If you have seen my lecture, only the first statement is wrong. It was actually called Great Calcutta Killings and not Bombay Killings. It was spread to Bombay also, but it was called Great Calcutta Killings. So statement 2, 3, 4 is the right answer. This one particular slide I put because I just want to give a summary of which all movies I told in between the lectures. You may think like it is a waste of time, some people, but if you are a really true aspirant and if you are interested in history too much, these movies will give you a clear-cut vision of everything what we discussed now. These movies are not just entertainer movies or masala kind of movies. These have all the happenings in recorded timeline, and it's all true. Only maybe Rangde Basanti out of this can be seen as commercial, but the other movies, if you see, Bose is an excellent movie. You see the entire journey where he travels from India to Afghanistan to Central Asia, then to Russia, then to Japan. Entire story is shown here. Gandhi movie, obviously, entire life of Gandhi, right from the life in South Africa and India, both are shown in detail. Chittagong is a movie which you have to see know the story of Surya Sen and Chandra Sen, and also many female leaders were there. Pritilada whatever. We have discussed this in detail. Bhagat Singh. This movie is even got the national award. Even Baba Saheb Ambedkar. These are movies which shows the true events, and it is actually very heart touching and very interesting to see. Sardar Paresh Rawal played the role of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and here the things which we are yet to discuss, the Operation Polo, the Kashmir issue, everything, how it started and how India was dealing with it during the late years. It is shown in detail. It actually begins right from Jallianwala Bagh, 1919 onwards. The entire events are shown in the movie Sardar. You should see it. It's available on YouTube. LOC Kargil I just mentioned because it has the names of all the important regiments in Kargil war. It's a post-independent issue, the 1999 war, which was a great win for India, and shows the actual, each of the hero plays the role of the actual military men who sacrificed their lives. They shows the actual regiment and how the whole Kargil war happened. You should actually see all these movies because it is worth watching it. Please try to watch instead of spending time on Facebook or WhatsApp or any other commercial movies which you see, because this time is only for preparation. You should be crystal clear on what you prepare. So please prepare accordingly. Now entire thing we have covered up to chapter 10. Chapter 12 was also done. Chapter 11 is about the acts, the 1770 Regulating Act to 1947 Independence Act. We'll do that by mixing data from Spectrum as well as Lakshmikant. I'll make a video for it soon. And after that, chapter 13 to 20, it's all small chapters where we'll see different aspects like education, growth of press, civil services, then different acts like Factory Act, then a lot of newspapers in India. Then we'll see towards the end the peasant movements and the tribal movement. Two separate chapters are there, 17 and 18. Those are very important for prelims perspective. And then 19 and 20 is about the Nehru policy of foreign relations, where non-aligned movement will come. That is the closing note of the entire Spectrum textbook. So hopefully we'll finish it off in another 3-4 days, hopefully. So please give your feedback of how you feel about all these chapters, because we have completed a major portion of right from advent of Europeans to India getting independence. So it is about how many years? 300-400 years of history we have seen. So please give your feedback, and please buy MCQs because it is a excellent compilation of the entire Spectrum textbook and NCRTs, from where we are picking questions to put at the end of the slides. So please buy and like this page, facebook.com Vysh IAS. Subscribe to this channel also. Till we put our next video, enjoy learning. Thank you and have a nice day.